Speaker, Vice President Cheney, members of Congress, distinguished citizens and fellow citizens. Every year, by law and by custom, we meet here to threaten the world.
Here's you and the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Blowback. It's a CIA term. Blowback does not mean simply the unintended consequences of foreign operations. It means the unintended consequences of foreign operations that were deliberately kept secret from the American public, so that when the retaliation comes, the American public is not able to put it in context, to put cause and effect together, that they come up with questions like, why did they hate us?
The forces of evil declared war on the American people.
Since Pearl Harbor, has there been so much national
freedom and democracy are under attack?
Why do they hate us? That's the question everybody's asking.
Our government did not want the forensic question asked. What were their motives? Chose to say they were just evildoers.
Attack on democracy? Forces of evil? It's funny the government should say these things, because even though I'm not trying to justify anything the terrorists did as right, but believe it or not, we have done these things countless times before, attacking democracy and playing the evildoer.
We've toppled governments, we've done coups d'etats, we've used intelligence services for covert purposes and done horrible things around the world, and we have put up with the most heinous human rights abusing countries. We have propped them up, we've even trained them how to commit human rights abuses. Today's demon was yesterday's friend, all in the name of either the Cold War or for commercial reasons.
So as you just saw in that clip, the US has helped many evil things happen in the world, including the support of these men. These men are some of the most evil dictators this world has ever seen, and this is just some of them. There are over 30 known tyrants the government has supported, some that even helped bring into power. In 1922, CIA and U.S. government members secretly removed democratically elected Chilean President Salvador Allende and gave General Augusto Pinochet dictatorship until 1990. This is one of the earlier coups that the U.S. government did, but isn't as well known as this next one in Guatemala.
This is the first time in the history of the world that the communist government has been overthrown by the people. And for that, we congratulate you and the people of Guatemala for the support they have given.
Nixon praises Castillo Armas, the president of Guatemala, for overthrowing a communist regime.
In other words, the Arbenz regime was not a Guatemalan government. It was a foreign government controlled by foreigners.
Controlled by Moscow.
And that happened just here in the continent. Right here in America. Just here in America.
What Nixon doesn't say is that Castillo Armas was handpicked by the CIA. That his army was financed and trained by the CIA. And that Castillo Armas didn't lead a popular uprising against a communist regime, but was the head of a CIA-sponsored military coup. The man who devised the coup, the American Secretary of State John Foster Dulles, a zealous Cold Warrior. The mastermind of the coup is brother Alan Dulles, director of the CIA, a veteran of covert operations. The man who orchestrated the propaganda campaign, Agent E. Howard Hunt, who later became the notorious Watergate burglar. Their target? A man they called Red Jacobo. To the world, he is Jacobo Arbenz, the elected president of Guatemala. Arbenz makes a fatal political error. He takes land from an American company, gives it to peasants.
So this uprising against an elected official was made for what? Is it because he took land away from an American company? Or maybe because he wanted to help out his own economy instead of supporting our own? We put in new government because the old one didn't support American interests. So now you decide, who is right here? In 1949, a widely known conspiracy broke out in Syria. Like the others, the democratically elected government was brought down and gave full power to Hussein al-Zaim, a ruthless dictator from that region. So now that I've showed you countless examples of conspiracy and lies within the very core of our government, I would like to move on to a very popular subject in today's world, Mr. George W. Bush.
On the evening of March 20th, 2003, US and British troops swept into Iraq. Operation Iraqi Freedom had begun. For months they had been poised for action, while the politicians argued whether invading Iraq would be a just war or not.
Iraq is now in further.
What terrorists or terrorist states could do with chemical,
are working, and other means should not be
constitute
allowed.
an axis of evil. He's a danger to the American people, and we got to deal with him.
The invasion was supposedly launched to rid the world of the threat from Iraq's weapons of mass destruction, to fight terrorism, and as an added bonus, to topple a brutal dictator. But as television images of the rapidly escalating conflict were flashed around the world, increasing numbers of people began to question the motives behind the conflict and ask, had war been declared under a cloak of conspiracy to satisfy the US's insatiable craving for oil and protect its mighty dollar?
Bush said in '99, he said, I'm going to be a war president. And because when you go to war, and he said, I'm going to go to war with Saddam, you can't be questioned.
They told me, they said, there's some strange things going on here that you need to be aware of, because some of this stuff is not going to look maybe as normal as you expect.
We could look upon the invasion of Iraq as a good thing. On the other hand, we could look at the beginning of World War III.
Those 19 hijackers with other weapons and other plans, this time armed by Saddam Hussein. Take one vial, one canister, one crate, slipped into this country to bring a day of horror like none we have ever known.
The other alarming thing from the fall, beyond hearing what the president was saying, these basically lies. The president and vice president told the American people lies.
With the fighting in Iraq as furious as ever, many people are asking, was it a war to rid a country of a dictator, or was it a conspiracy to cover something else? During my travels and research, I've realized that many now believe Saddam Hussein's oil-rich Iraq had long been targeted by America.
There are many theories of this administration's motives in the Iraq War, but none can be proven as true. This clip may provide us with some insight, but again, the conspiracy cannot be proved. But what can be is the amount of dictators and conspiracy we have supported in the past, and even now. The American public must stand and not let this continue. So tell me, which side do you choose?